Coming out of the left hook to the jaw. Another left and a right to the body. 3 more lefts to the midsection.
Raging Bull is an intense film, and not just in the boxing ring. At its core, the film is about a man who had the opportunity to have everything he wanted, but instead destroyed himself and hurt those closest to him. Director Martin Scorsese worked hard to make this film great. He said, "I put everything I knew and felt into that film, and I thought it would be the end of my career. It was what I call a kamikaze way of making movies. Pour everything in, then forget all about it and go find another way of life." Scorsese's vision was meticulously carried out by other members of the crew. Director of photography Michael Chapman said, "Each shot was drawn out in great detail. Almost like Arthur Murray, those weird dance steps they used to draw on the floor. We did that." And according to the film's editor, Thelma Schoonmaker, producer Irwin Winkler told Schoonmaker and Scorsese that they couldn't mix the film inch by inch, but Scorsese told Winkler that that was exactly what they were going to do. Scorsese was on a mission to give everything he could to make this film great, and the cinematography and editing reflect this dedication. I want to start by looking at the 8 scenes that the film hinges on, the boxing matches. What I find interesting about these scenes is that the fights communicate a different feeling depending on where we are in the story and whether or not Jake is winning. This also keeps the audience from being bored of the fight scenes. With 8 boxing matches in the film, it's best to keep each one fresh and interesting. The second fight of the film is the first time we see Jake fight Sugar Ray Robinson. Look at the size of the ring. Scorsese actually used multiple rings. Some were very large and others were regular sized. This was to show Jake's different psychological states at different points in the film. As his mental state changes throughout the film, so does the ring size. The third fight is one of the most visually interesting. Haze fills the ring. The images fall in and out of focus. Some shots are in slow motion, making everything feel lazy and burdened down. Certain shots have heat distortion. This was achieved by placing fire in front of the lens while shooting. These effects give the fight a hot, hellish feeling. The sixth fight feels different from the others for a couple main reasons. Instead of announcers, we hear music. The rounds go by very quickly, and there's never a moment in this fight where we think Jake will lose. The music and quick editing give the match a feeling of control and triumph. In my opinion, the most interesting fight is the last one. Take a look at this sequence of shots. As Jake gets hit more and more, the shots completely lose a sense of continuity or time. For example, a shot of Robinson's right hook cuts to a shot of his left hitting Jake. The two men change position on screen, breaking the 180-degree rule. Camera flashes obscure our vision of the action, and slow-motion shots are sporadically placed through the sequence. All of this disorientation is completely purposeful. Scorsese was much more concerned about how the scene felt rather than making sure that everything made logical sense. This barrage of illogical images gives us a sense of the intense beating Jake takes. But I think the real brilliance of this film's editing takes place outside of the boxing ring. One of the most memorable and important aspects of the editing was the juxtaposition between scenes. Most film editors work hard to make sure the audience doesn't notice the cuts as the film moves from scene to scene. But in some scenes, Raging Bull does the opposite. Many of Raging Bull's transitions are jarring, moving from quiet to loud and from stillness to movement. This type of jarring editing was originally defined by Sergei Eisenstein, a Russian filmmaker who made films in the 1920s and 30s. Eisenstein believed that two images edited together in a jarring or shocking way could create a new thought or idea in the audience's mind. He called this technique collision editing, or intellectual editing. Raging Bull features this technique specifically at important moments throughout the film, most notably just before a boxing match. This is a calm moment where Jake asks Vicky about a comment she made regarding De Niro, a boxer Jake is about to fight. Jake is worried she is cheating on him, and their conversation does not stop his worrying. There's a moment of silence as we see Jake's anger brewing under the surface. The jarring cut throws us into the boxing match against De Niro. Another great example is this moment. This scene takes place soon after we watch Jake hit both his brother and Vicky. Vicky is packing to leave, but Jake gets her to stay. Although calm, the whole scene gives off an uneasy feeling. Vicky knows that Jake is angry and violent, but she stays because she still loves him. The audience is worried for her, and we feel anger towards Jake.
Less than a minute to go, and LaMotta is losing.
We are again thrown into the ring as Jake is getting hit. This shows us the connection between Jake LaMotta in and out of the ring. His rage shows its full face in the ring, but it builds outside of it. These jarring cuts help us understand the central idea of the film. Jake manifests the anger inside himself through boxing. I want to end by talking about the biggest juxtaposition in this film, a sequence that Scorsese thought was better than the rest of the movie, Jake LaMotta's home video montage. Other than the opening titles, this is the only other part of the film where there is color. The montage shows us the happiness Jake could have had. He had people around him that loved him and cared about him, but he could not control his anger. The joy he could have had was destroyed by himself. The happy feeling of the home video montage is juxtaposed by the tragic reality of Jake LaMotta's life. It's what this film is all about, the tragedy of a man whose biggest enemy was himself. It's something we should all remember in our own lives. There are people around us who truly have our best interests at heart, and we must remember not to shove these people away, but to trust them and allow them to help us. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. I know Raging Bull isn't a film that a ton of people were really waiting for an analysis of, but I think it's still a really important film. The film was made in a time where boxing movies were very prevalent, but Scorsese still wanted to make a boxing film that was still artistic and interesting and had more value other than, you know, an interesting movie with a cool fight scene in the middle. And so I think it's important to continue to remember these types of films and to support these types of films today. So much of Hollywood today is large blockbusters, and we're losing kind of the artistic side of filmmaking, but we still do see that in smaller films and indie films and lower budget films, or in films that people just don't go to the theaters to see. And so this video is me kind of wanting to say, remember to support those films as they come out today. Remember to see the movie with the $3 million budget that nobody else is going out to see. You know, go to those theaters around your town or a few hours away from your town that still support those types of films, because I think they're still important, and I think we can still learn a lot from those today. That being said, if you want to support this channel, if you want to keep contact with this channel, I have links below to kind of follow up on this channel and to keep in touch with me. That being said, have a good week. I'll see you guys soon.